John Paul very kindly helped me about 6 or 7 years ago, I think it was. I had some problems with my letting agent, and he helped me. There was nothing in it for him. I think we spent over an hour on the phone, didn't we? He was advising me as to what to do with this letting agent that I had managing some of my properties in London. He's up there, North East, so there was absolutely nothing in it for him. I do actually remember saying, John Paul, branch out, come to London.
You did, yeah.
7 years later, he hasn't. So I think I'm going to have to come to you now, John Paul.
We are listening, Margaret. We're buying somewhere in North Yorkshire. So we're slowly working down the country. Give us time. 50, 60 years, I'll be in London.
Well, that means I'm going to have to come to you first, aren't I?
Yeah, yeah.
But again, thank you.
It's good to see you, Margaret.
Thank you, and you likewise. Sorry, Paul,
sorry.
I just wanted to say that.
I tell you what, mate, Gary, you're starting the meeting there, aren't you? Hey.
I was just wondering, was anybody doing a little coochie hands at me? And then I realised Gary's little daughter was there.
Wave.
Who was that?
Oh, she's
Wave to everyone. No, shy.
Right, should we kick off then, Mr. John Paul?
Go for it, my mate.
Roger. So, for those who don't know your good self, do you mind just giving a quick introduction to who you are and what it is you do?
Yeah, I'm John, property investor back in the day, landlord. Then I set up a letting agency. Got a couple of agencies around the northeast. I coach and train letting agencies and estate agents. That's pretty much me in a very, very short nutshell.
Perfect. And you've got quite a few branches now, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got 10. Got 10 branches with a couple more on the way.
Yeah, and like, I just feel like everyone's like got an estate agency now, especially up here. Like, you go down the high street and there's about like 8 down in Low Fell there. So how do you separate yourself, mate, from the crowd? What makes you different, kind of thing?
We're just not crap.
Fair one.
Next question. No, I've always, unless anybody's dealt with us and thought we were shit, then I apologise in advance. But I just look at it as a business. I don't look at it as an estate agent or letting agent. I've always looked at it like that. If you're gonna, my granddad used to say, if you're gonna be a bear, be a grizzly. So if you're gonna do it, you do it with everything you've got, or you just don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of 99% of letting agents are owner operated. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not criticising. It's just a fact. And when they grow into the second branch, or the owner of the business steps out, then that's when customer service levels drop. And I knew from a very early stage. I mean, we've been going about 11 years now, and I knew very early on I didn't want to run a business. So I mean, I don't want to get the violins out, but some of you know my history of losing my dad. And when we lost my dad, he had a good engineering company in Trimden. Anyone heard of Trimden? No, it's as shit as it sounds, the place. It's terrible. It's really, really crap. Put it one way, Tony Blair was the MP there. So if you like the Blyer or whatever he's called, then you're not going to like me. No, so anyway, he was MP there, and that's pretty much the only thing it's ever been famous for. And he had an engineering business. Sent me and my brother to private school. Despite the way I talk, I did go to private school. And good, nice lifestyle, lived in a nice part of town. Unfortunately, he got cancer very, very quickly. 2 weeks later, he died. And 3 months later, we lost the business, lost a lot. Just because the business wasn't systemized. He was the guy who signed the checks. He was the guy who pushed the button to pay everyone. Business came to him because of him. I was working as health and safety in the business. My brother was working on the saws on the shop floor, and my mum was a director, but like a stay-at-home mum, housewife, if you want to call her. But she didn't work, but she got paid. So when we lost the business, our entire family lost their only source of income. Funnily enough, when the administrators came in, I was the first one to get the boot. My brother was the second one. My mum was the third one. So we literally lost everything. In fact, there's a story. I had a nice little Toyota RAV4, thought it was a proper boy racer. And I wouldn't give the car back. So there was a warrant out for us. I was just being daft, you know, like you're not getting the car and I've lost everything and I got pulled over in Northallerton and I had to get a taxi all the way back. All sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we lost a lot. And so when I set up my business, because I wanted to have property, but I didn't want to manage the property. So I employed somebody, made loads of mistakes. My recruitment was basically this: do you like property? Yes. Do you want a job? Yes. You start tomorrow. That was how I recruited people back in the beginning. And then we just sort of made loads of mistakes, customer service, staff stealing off us, recruiting the wrong people. I think I was telling James, I was speaking to James earlier on today, we had so much rubbish in the first 2.5 to a year. And I went, I'm going to have to do this serious. I'm going to have to take it serious. So I just researched about systems and processes and standard operating procedures and all that sort of boring jazz. And just started implementing them slowly in the business. And what that allowed me to do very, very quickly was on the business, not in it, and all that sort of stuff. So I just basically made myself redundant very, very quickly. So we acquired one business in Seaham. We started one in Bishop Auckland. We bought one in Hortonley Spring. And we buy different brands as well. So not all our businesses are CastleDene. So we've got...
I noticed you shared a post the other day and it was a total different brand. I wondered what was going on there.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is I'm not precious. It's not called John Paul Lettings or JP Lettings. It's CastleDene. I come up with the name because the shopping centre in Peterlee, where I was living at the time, it changed its name to CastleDene.
Yeah.
So very originally, I just copied them, so called it CastleDene. So it's synonymous with the area. But we've got Hartlepool, Bishop Auckland, Seaham, Easington and Spennymoor, CastleDene. Hortonley Spring, we've got one called Hegarty's. Washington, if anyone's from Washington. No, we've got one called Gordon Lamb. And then up in Hexham, Prudder and Ulston, we've got Red Hot Estate Agents.
So when you've bought those, mate, have you just kept the same name, or have you bought them and changed a different name?
No, kept them. Because they're well-known brands, so we're buying it because of the goodwill. So if I change it to CastleDene in an area where nobody knew CastleDene, it would purely be for ego purposes.
Yeah.
So all we do is we just keep it and then we just tweak it. So Red Hot, we bought last November. Lots of changes, like it was very much high volume, high turnover of business. So I charge like 0.5% fees. I'm really set against low fees because if there's any recession or a dip in the market, the first thing that's squeezed is your profit margin. Yeah. So charge high, but you've got to give a good value. You've got to give good service. People don't mind paying for stuff. How many of you here spend a lot of money on a good bottle of wine or a good bottle of gin or a nice... Hey, hands are going up left, right in Chelsea.
Jessica couldn't get a hand up quick enough there.
Just mentioned alcohol in it. So, you know, we all spend like 20, 25 quid on a nice steak or a nice bottle of wine if it's worth it. You know, it might be a treat now and again, but it's worth it. So we're of the opinion that if you've got a really good customer journey, and actually, mate, if you want to talk about it, we can... I could go into in depth because it'll affect a lot of people here about how you build a customer journey to wow your customer.
Yeah, because I think that would be killer because we've just had Laura Muse on this afternoon talking about the investor journey. So very apt and in tune. So if you've got time, yeah, that'll be killer. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. In fact, you're going to have to pull us off with a shepherd's crook because I just talk about anything for every. Do
you need to share your screen? Or are you good to go? Or?
No, I'll just talk about it now if you want. I
thought you were loading up some like slides. Earlier.
Just wing it. So we looked at the business and we looked at in life and in business. There's two sorts of moments. There's a so what moment and there's a wow moment. Right? If you're the same as everybody else and it's just a so what, CastleDene do the same as everybody else, then in the absence of differentiation, people are going to buy on price. So in order to get those high-level clients and those people that are prepared to pay the big bucks, which you get the big profit margins, so you're protected, you need to offer massive, massive value. Be that you're an investor, be that you're an estate agent, be that you're selling pens, whatever you're selling, just make sure they're the best pens and the best customer journey. So customer service is very 1990s, right? In fact, the 1990s have been on the phone. They want the phrase back. A load of crap. It's all about the customer experience. So if you want to get all sort of psychology and neuro-linguistic and all that, people remember things. So you'll remember an experience rather than a service. Service is how you answer a complaint. That's customer service. That's crap. That's not going to get you new business. The experience is what you say, how you say it, when you say it, and what it means to that person. That's the important thing. So what we did is we mapped out what we do from somebody picking up the phone, and you can trial and test all our branches, and it should be the same. What we did is what happens when somebody picks up the phone and asks for evaluation. So I'll pick on someone, Susie. So if Susie phoned up CastleDene and said, "Hi, I want to book a evaluation," do we go, "Yeah, next Tuesday, all right? Is that it?" And then do we just say next Tuesday? Or do we say, "Yeah, fantastic. Who am I speaking to? How can I help? I'm John. Is it all right if I call you Susie? Fantastic." And you go through and you're asking the questions. We're asking questions like, have you done any work to your property? So I want to know, have you done any work to your property, and try and elicit information from Susie, because if she says, yes, I fitted the kitchen, my husband fitted the bathroom, we've put an extension on for my second child, all that goes down. So when it's given to the valuer can make an absolute beeline for the kitchen and start talking about it and wowing it and making a big deal. Then you've built what's called rapport. You've built that connection straight away.
Yeah.
So it's all about asking. Well, there's three words, and it's a negotiation technique called TED: tell, explain, describe. Tell me, explain to me what's great about your house. Describe. We're stood at your front door. Describe to me the route that you would like to take me through. If I was viewing your property, tell me where we're going to go. Explain, describe. So TED. So what that does is it elicits information. It's not just a very yes, no, 2 bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, garage. What do you want to know? It's describe, tell, explain, describe. So and people love to talk about themselves in a nice way. They love to talk about the houses. So bearing in mind, we've had all that, and it's, we've got to find the motivation. So again, and this will be good for investors. So ask a question is, in fact, do you know what I'll do? I'll try and think on, and I'll try and make it relevant for you guys. So another question is, when you're going out, you see a house, is like, oh, fantastic. Are all the people who are able to make a decision about the sale of the house, are they going to be present? Well, no. All right. Well, when's Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith going to be in? Because I'm going to absolutely throw a load of information at you. And what I'd hate to do is meet one and then have to come back and meet the other, or some information get met. Because how many times have people gone into a property and say, I've got to speak to the husband, I've got to speak to the missus. So you make sure both the decision makers are there straight away.
Yeah.
So we've put the phone down. Then what do? Do we say, right, we'll see you next Tuesday, and then we see you next Tuesday? No, we do a follow-up. So it's a text off a mobile phone. Thanks very much. Lovely speaking to you. We're going to meet you, blah, blah, blah. So you're affirming it, you're validating it. Then send a follow-up email with some information on. Then what do? Right? So what we would do is a couple of days before, we'd send a WhatsApp message, video message of, hi, it's John. Just want to say I'm coming out to see you 2:00 on Tuesday. Really looking forward to meeting you. Any questions? This is my personal mobile. Just give me a shout. How many other agents are doing that? How many other property sources are doing that? No one.
It's hard enough to get any of them to answer the phone, let alone message you.
Exactly. So you've done that straight away, right? So you've done it straight away. So you're already wowing them. Remember, so it actually wasn't so what, it was so, and it began with an F, and you can imagine what it was. But it's a wow and so, right? So that's a wow moment. So then they've already met you, right? Effectively, they've met you. Something we do that you guys can do is we've got a very good brochure that's in final stages of design, and it talks about our people, our company, our process, right? Now, if you're going out and you're the same as everybody else, hey, do you know what? I might as well actually put it on the screen. Do you want me to do that? And I can show you and talk it through.
Definitely, mate. I think I need to make you host there, John.
Yeah, go for it. I'm just going to pull it up.
You have the keys to the kingdom there, mate.
Awesome. So where is share screen?
Can I just ask a quick question while it's in my head, John?
Yeah, go for it.
So do you know when you were like giving us an example there about you on the phone to a client? Obviously you care because it's your business, but you have so many staff. How do you get all of those to care? Like, is it your level
Violence,
of
a lot of
training or?
violence. Just threaten to hit them. They'll do anything. No, recruitment. So it all starts. I don't, by the way, guys. I'm joking. So it all starts with recruitment. So it's all about how you recruit. So you need to know what your values are in order to recruit people to have values aligned with you. So if you look at, don't recruit them on the CV, recruit them on the values. So 99% of people recruit wrong. They just look at the CV, work for Countrywide, worked in banking for 20 years, must be great. Absolute load of rubbish. So you recruit on values first, and it's not an absolute choice. It's not either values or capability and competency. It's it's values first, and then they will have capability and competency. I can make you capable with training. Through training and experience, you will become competent. It's not difficult. It's if you've got a really good, robust training program with skills matrix, individual learning plans, and I know I'm talking really like sort of high level corporate, but if you've just got a list of a decent training plan, you can train people to be good. But the values is what makes people work weekends, although you've got to have a work-life balance, walk over broken glass, walk over hot coals to get, the same values as you. So you've got to have a values. Our values are be better. We just want people to be better. We're not bothered about them being the finished article today, and we hire on potential, not performance. So how do we know if they're going to perform if we don't employ them? So we hire what we think their potential is going to be. So bearing in mind, so we know what our values are. So we will elicit their values at the interview stage or as best we can. It's not foolproof, but at least trying is better than not trying. So we'll ask things like, our values are be better. So I'll say, right, Paul, imagine a time where you tried to do better, you tried to go on a course, but it was blocked at a finance level or it was blocked at a managerial level. What did you do about it? If you went, there's not a lot I could do. That just shows as soon as a roadblock's put up, you just melt. You fold like a cheap suit. But what we want you to absolutely just break down that barrier and say, do you know what? Well, I did a night class and I worked on weekends and I got up at 6 o'clock every morning. I did this and I did this. And we're like, awesome. So he's a problem solver. He's got initiative. He knows what he wants. He's got the drive. He's got the attitude. He's got the determination. He's got the same values as us. And you can coach ability, but you can't coach an attitude. Attitude can go the other way. So you can have the right attitude and then something happens in that person's life, split with a partner, God forbid, somebody close dies to them. It's happened to us a few times. And their attitude and the priorities in life totally change, and then we part ways. And as long as they part ways in the right manner, then that's fine. It's when they start lying or hiding things or whatever, that's when it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
So on top of the values, you've got something called your mission statement, which is telling you where you want to get to. Whilst your values is effectively your moral compass of how you make a decision, your mission statement is where you're heading. So we want to be the #1 sales and letting solution in the northeast of England. We will do this by investing in our community, our staff, and our people. Right? That's our mission statement. It's ingrained in the top of my head. I don't do it as lip service. It's literally our values, our mission statement, are the top of what we build and how we run the business. So when you're recruiting people, you're saying, right, we're heading in that direction, and this is how we're going to get there. And then the third document we have is a customer service charter, and it details what good customer service is. Because customer service is I reckon there's 30 odd people on here, and I reckon if we muted everybody and we said, what do you think is customer service? What do you think is customer service? And we went across, we'd have 35 different answers. Because it's different to different people. Like the question I always ask when I'm coaching letting agents, estate agents is, how quickly do you think you should return a call? I've had from a week to 20 minutes and everything in between. And the answer is they're all right, because it's how you run your business. But if you can pinpoint what customer service is to you and your business, then that's a roadmap for people to follow. And again, it is a little bit Big Brother is watching you, because you want your staff to perform at that level. But it's also aware that if you do get that little bit of somebody calling you out as a landlord, a tenant, or a vendor, once you listen at the call or you read the email chains or the threads or listen to the conversation and get statements, you can say, right, Mr. Landlord, I've really investigated this, and I can say we did deliver the customer service as per our charter. It's just a misalignment of what you believe good customer service is and what we believe it. I'm fine with that. You know, you go into a restaurant, Paul, me and you could have the same steak. You could think it's amazing. I could think it's crap, but we're both right.
Yeah.
But you've got your staff's back. Now you have your staff's back in that situation. You cannot buy that loyalty that will give. And that's how you build a team. It's all about engaging with them and building them up and trusting them, but reciprocating that back.
Yeah. No, I love that. I feel like I quickly need to write some of the stuff down you just said before I forget.
So I'll quickly show you this. So this is our, so this isn't the finished version. This is literally just what we got something through today. Can everyone say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is going to be a wow moment. So this is going to be what's called spot UV varnish. It's going to be quality. It's going to stand off, and it's going to be great. Now, a little bit about the CEO. We never time you to a time frame when selling your house. Now, was that a wow moment or a so what moment? So do you know when you sell a house and all these agents tie you into like 20 weeks, 5 weeks? We don't tie you into a single day. You can phone me up at 9 o'clock in the morning. The house will be off the market with us by 2 minutes past. Because if I'm doing my job right, why are you going to leave?
Strong thought of that, mate, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's the chin. It's the chin. I've been using that one. I've been dining out on that bad lad for about 10 years. I think when we heard what they call it, catfishing or something like that. Literally, I remember when I didn't have wrinkles. Anyway, so what we're doing in this side, we're putting some handouts in, right? So one of the handouts is going to be about the valuer, and it's going to be out who else is in the branch. So it's going to be like Louise supported by so, because when this is given to them, they need to know who's going to be, not just who's going to come out and value the house, but who's going to actually be progressing the sale or putting the tenant in. So that's why that's important to introduce the vendor to, or in your case, is the person the vendor, yeah, you call them vendors, don't you? So when you're buying their house, you're going out, they need to know who's coming out to visit the house. So they've already bought into you. There was a rough figure that 70% of vendors already know which agent they're going to choose before anybody comes out. They just need them to come out to validate their choice. So you either want to prove them right, that they've made the good choice, the right choice, or you need to change their mind. So that's why this is important. It's a wow moment, not a so what moment. So you've got one insert that's going in there. You've also got 10 questions to ask your estate agent. And guess what? We know all the answers to all the questions, but I can guarantee the other estate agents who get asked this won't know the answers, such as what percentage of houses you put in the market do you sell? What sort of ratio houses to staff do you have? Do you do social media marketing? What's your return like on that? What videos do you put out there? So all the things that we know the answers to, but other agents don't, we're saying, ask Paul, ask Susie, ask Nikki, ask Nick, ask them, because you'll either bullshit and I'll find out, or you'll be able to find out, or they won't know the answer and they'll feel a little bit daft. And if Paul all of a sudden goes out about 30 or 40 of these and he picks one up and he says, right, clever little bugger, I'm gonna research these and I'm gonna ask them. Once we start getting the feedback that, oh, Paul knew all the answers to this, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna change the questions. So I'll just keep on changing the questions, so you won't know the answers. You might know them for a week or two, but then I'll change them around, and then you'll be like, oh crap, he's caught us again. So keep on going this. So this is a bit of braggadocious. You know, in influence techniques, it's called building your authority. So you have to build your authority because people don't want to be associated with cheap or crap or rubbish. So, you know, we've won various awards. Our values, we talk about that all the time. Our people, we've got something called investors and people. So if any of you guys have worked in the corporate world, you'll know what that is. So we've got the gold accreditation. So again, we're the only agent in the UK, including London and the big boys, to ever have that. So that's pretty good. And, you know, our values, which everybody loves having values, our people is your success. We then go on to the process. Now, this is really important. So this is our 12-step process to getting you the best price in the time frame you want. So when you ask vendors and the clients, what do you think a letting agent or a sourcer does? They'll say, well, they'll bung it on Rightmove. They'll put it on Zoopla. Well, it's not true. It couldn't be further from the truth. A good agent. So this is where we are putting into words our entire process. So we're explaining to the person what we do. And it's a lot more complicated, a lot more in-depth than what you think. Things like, track and tweak. So you constantly review the data around your home. So on Facebook, on Zoopla, on whatever platforms you use, video metrics, anything you want. Also, we do another handout, which goes in here. And that's the 12-step process, but in much more detail. It's about 4 pages, 4 sides. That is just a brief overview. And also we want something that was a little bit like an Indiana Jones map. So if you're ever out there and you're speaking to somebody and you lose your place, you can go back to always listening, always learning. Because you know yourself, if you go out and someone, you follow on your process and where you are, and all of a sudden they'll ask you a question. Do you want sugar with your tea? Or what about this? What do you think of the garden? Well, next door's neighbour sold for 20 grand more. Why won't mine go? And you lose your place. This can bring you back so you don't miss things.
Yeah.
Marketing as well. A house is sold with eyes first. So you're looking, someone's clicking. You've got this recorded, you guys. You don't have to try and slyly click and stuff. You can have it. Although there is a copyright. So you've got before and after photographs, good video. We use good photographs. We use SMS marketing. So for instance, SMS marketing has got a 98 to 99% open rate, but estate agents continually send emails, which has got a 19 to 25% open rate. Just doesn't make any sense. Tomorrow's work today, so we're showcasing the Matterport 3D tours. We do a lot of videos now. Again, they get a lot more engagement on social media. Email marketing, we do that, social media. But again, our number one marketing tool is our people. So, it's all about the people. Rightmove doesn't sell houses. Zoopla doesn't sell houses. Your staff sell houses. So you've got to try and show that it's you or your staff that are doing the work. The community as well. People love a good old community post. So we did these things on the NHS. So we put them on our boards, supporting the local businesses. That's just a placeholder at the minute. People in Easington aren't really that good looking. So I'll tell you why I know he's not from Easington. He's got all his teeth. And all her tattoos are spelt right, so she's definitely not from Easington. But it's success stories. So you don't want to see testimonials, it's success stories. And little things like making each testimonial applicable to a death, a divorce, a debt. So somebody can relate to something when they're viewing this. Biggest communication, I think you guys, if you've dealt with estate agents before, communication is crap. So we've got an online portal that goes live this week that you can log in 24/7, 365 on any device, and you can see the progress of your sale or your let, or if you're a tenant, or if you're an applicant, over the phone, and obviously COVID safe, you can go in. Those are all our brands. And then the back page is a bit of an infographic. Like we sell about 700 properties a year, 55 staff, 300 cups of coffee consumed across our branches daily. We did genuinely work that out. 25 national awards, but you are always our number one priority. So that is I don't know what you guys think, but that is a really good brochure. Obviously, the quality of it's got to be right or whatever. But just put it in perspective, another wow moment is if you phone up before 12 o'clock on any day, that will be hand delivered to your door by 5 o'clock on the same day. If it's after 12 o'clock, we're going to get a first class delivery, so it hits your door the next day. So you've got that to read days in advance. So that's another wow moment. Like, how many other agents are doing that? There's none. So we are separating ourselves. And I suppose what I'm saying to you guys is if you're property sources or you're looking for deals or whatever business you're in, wow, just make wow moments. And it's actually not that difficult when you think about it. We've got something called the perfect market appraisal, where we looked at what we did. So our sales process is we were winning about 60% of listings from valuation. So 60% of the listings that we went out to, we converted to a listing. We improved our market appraisal process, and it jumped up to 75, and it's settled at about 72%, just by improving the process. That's probably worth about 200 grand a year to us. Just improving a process like that. It's mental how it works. So one of my clients, he's got an estate agent down in Wigan, and he was saying, I need more leads. I've got to get more valuations. And I looked, and he's getting about 30 odd valuations a month. And we looked at it and we said, I can't remember the figures, but 30 valuations, 20 take-ons, 10 sales, 8 completions. I went, you're absolutely smashing it out the park in terms of valuations. You don't need a single more valuation. You just need your val to listing, your listing to sale, your sale to completion. You just need to tweak those ratios. So instead of 50%, 50%, 90%, you need 60%, 60%, 95%. And we worked out it was about another £90,000 on his bottom line by doing no more work other than just improving and tweaking his process. Because everybody thinks, I need more properties, so I'll pump more money into Facebook advertising, Facebook marketing, leaflet dropping, letters, but they don't understand the reasons why they're not getting the business in the first place. And it's all down to the customer experience. If you give a good customer experience and you show value, people will give you the business. You've just got to find out what is it they want. And fees as well. People will charge fees. We're the highest independent letting agent in any area we operate in terms of costs. And in most of our sales branches, we're the most expensive. Like Spennymoor, we've just opened, we've had to go in with what we call predatory pricing. So we just sell it like dirt cheap just so we can start getting stock on. Red Hot in Hexham, does anybody know Hexham? Yeah, so we've just bought Red Hot. Jessica, 0.5%. I nearly fell off my chair. We doubled it overnight to 1%. Not lost this thing. We lost more people over price on 0.5% than we did on 1%. Mental how it works. So just by putting the price up, but giving that delivery, giving that value, you're a property investor. If you can solve a pain or solve someone's problem, or your sources, sorry, people will pay you 3, 4, 5 grand.
Yeah. Sarah's just asked the question there, John. What would be your top questions to ask a new letting agent?
Good. So is this a new one, Sarah? Because we're getting rid of the old one where you're at. Yeah, we are. So questions are, you want to know about the process and the procedures. So, from where you advertise on to get you a tenant, what's your arrears chasing process and procedure? How quickly do you, I'm going to go on process first, and then we'll talk about compliance. So, how quickly do you pay me? What's your process on maintenance? As in, do you have to get my permission first, or do you just go and do it? Just to let you know, guys, there's something called agent necessity, where the agent technically doesn't have to ask your permission. They could just go away and do the work, providing they've tried to get in touch with you, of course. Even if you say, no, do not do it, the agent still has a lawful duty under the law of agency to protect that tenant, even though you were their client. So unfortunately, some of them take the piss and will charge like 600 quid for a light bulb, which is true. Foxtons did charge 620 quid to change a light bulb in London, and they got taken to the court. If you ever want to know anything about, I think I put in one of the groups, it was James, it was today, just know the law. Absolutely know the law. So if you're going to get into renting property, know the law. So you want to know, the super strike versus Rodriguez, which is the cases. You want to know about the Deregulation Act. Warren versus Keane, 1954, which is all about treating a tenant like manner. O'Brien versus Robinsons. You want to know just about a dozen cases, just the main laws, and it'll just make your property journey so much better. It's great learning about funnels. It's great knowing that what colours will rent out better than a grey or a pink or a blue or whatever. It's excellent knowing what washing machine to put in. It's all bollocks if you don't know the law. You can't paint the walls from prison. So you know the law first, and for whatever business you're in. We've never been taken to a tribunal, ever, just because of our HR and the policies and the procedures and everything we've got in place. And we've only literally been to court, small claims, half a dozen times to do with the business, just because of we know the legislation.
Yeah. Melinda's just asked, what do you call that again? But that was a few minutes ago, and we've gone on a few tangents since then. So,
which one was that? What was that, Melinda?
Melinda, what was that? Sorry, what do we call
it? Was that law you were talking about? About 2 or 3, a little bit further back.
The law, or the Deregulation Act.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, Deregulation Act 15. So effectively what that says is when you move a tenant in, you've got to give the how to rent guide, copy of the EPC, copy of the CP12. Otherwise, you can't evict them. Like Legionella risk assessments. I don't put any hands up because I don't want anyone to feel embarrassed. How many people give them out? That's been law since 2014. You're breaking the law, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. It's a criminal act. It's not civil. It's criminal if anything happens. People die on a annual basis from Legionella. So don't get me wrong. The chance you've literally got more chance of being hit by lightning. But if you're going to do a business, you do it to the best of your ability, and you do it within the realms of the law, and you just make sure that you do. You know, I'm paranoid about my reputation, paranoid about it. So I want my staff, which is going to bring on to Jessica's question about what calls do they have to do, is when you delegate stuff and you've got other people running the business for you, there's 2 people that can go at fault here. One is them and the other one is you. You can be at fault because you micromanage and you don't want to let go, but then they're at fault if they're not up to a certain level and a certain standard. And the art of management is knowing what standard they are at, so you can either delegate, coach, supervise, manage, or micromanage. And you need to know where they are. So for instance, a brand new employee, you wouldn't delegate to because they haven't got the training. But again, you wouldn't micromanage someone who's been there 15 years.
Yeah.
Sarah says, the agent we're meeting tomorrow asked for a Legionella risk assessment. First time we've been asked for one. Brilliant. That's well done. They seem a good agent if they've done that. So that's good. Jessica said, what calls do staff have? Yeah, so internal, but there's something going to be called the ROPA, the Regulation of Property Agents. That's coming out in about 3 to 4 years, possibly 4 because of COVID and Brexit. And effectively what that's going to mean is every single person managing properties for somebody else. We don't know about landlords, but for somebody else. So even if you manage one house for your parents, you'll need this qualification. And it'll be a legal requirement, again, criminal act, massive fines. So they're trying to professionalise and regulate the industry and not before long. The only problem with that is we've got a lot of good people like yourselves and good agents who don't have the quals. But again, it's never the small minority. It's always a small minority that spoil it for the majority. But what this will do is this will allow us to get rid of the cowboys. There'll be lots of opportunity because people will be selling up, and you can charge more because you're a regulated industry. It's a little bit like why dentists are expensive or why doctors are expensive or gas fitters. It's a regulated gas engineers. It's a regulated industry. Is it just for residential? I think so. I'm not 100% sure because it's 3 to 4 years off. But what they're saying is that any customer focusing or facing role, you're going to have to do a level 3 qualification. Any directors will have to do a level 4.
John, can I just quickly go back to when you were talking about delegating, mate? So at what point would you feel comfortable delegating, like letting someone take control and you kind of stepping out?
So it's not like it's done over a period of time. So it's not like Monday at 9 o'clock, see you later. It's literally like you've delegated over a period of time. So we've got something called the skills matrix, and what all it is just their job description with it written down. And what we do is we will look at every single part of their job description, everything, right? And we number it, we score it 1 to 4. 1 is underperforming, 4 is exceeding, and the 2 are developing and performing. Yeah, 1 is underperforming, 2 is developing, 3 is performing, and 4 is exceeding. So we want 3s and 4s performing or exceeding. If they're developing or underperforming, then we need to give them more training. So what we do is we sit them down, we say, right, where do you think you are, Paul? So you go back and you'll say, right, well, I'm here. Fantastic. We train them up, and then we come back a couple of weeks later and we say, right, based on evidence, what I've seen you actually do and, carry out, I agree with you on these, but I disagree on there. Now, Paul's going to disagree with me, but when I go into that conversation, I back it up with facts and evidence. So I say, well, Paul, you say you're really good at customer service, but we've had 2 complaints. I've read your email. The landlord came in and you told him to F off, blah, 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 blah. Facts don't care about your feelings. Stop crying like a baby. I'm marking you down as a 1. Right? So I'll put you down as a 1. At the end of the process, I know what the 1s and 2s are. So now I can develop a specific bespoke training plan, not a generic one where everybody goes do arrears chasing training on a Friday afternoon, or everybody does customer service training on a Wednesday morning, or everyone goes on a weekend break where it's rubbish, where half of them don't need to be there. I can develop a bespoke training plan for you. So we know you're good at this, not so much at that, brilliant at this, crap at that. So you say, right, so this is the training plan. Once we get you into from 1s and 2s to 3s and 4s, you're performing, you're where we want to be. And then as a business owner, I can start to take my foot off the gas and come out. If you're a 3 and a 4, either you're performing or exceeding, and I'm still over your shoulder, look, what you done there, that's demotivating for you. There's nothing more demotivating when you can do a job, but your manager's still chirping on your shoulder. There's also nothing more demotivating where you haven't got the hang of it and your manager lets go and buggers off. So that's that fine balance of in the middle. Once the results speak for themselves, that's when you let go.
How often do you have that review, mate? Do you have that different times for like your staff who are kind of on the front line, your MD, your branch?
Every single person in the company gets a monthly 1-to-1. And your skills matrix, we do that skills matrix in the first 3 monthly 1-to-1s. It coincides nicely with the probation, and then we do it every 3 months after that. Now, there's no set hard and fast rule. You can do it every month if you want, but you should see lots of quick wins in the first 3 months, especially if they're from out the industry. So to teach you to chase arrears, or teach you the CastleDene way, or teach you, how to neg a deal or whatever, is not that difficult. 3 months is enough time to train you up. So I should see you performing in 3 months. So in 3 months' time, I don't really want to be rolling out this skills matrix, because it's just going to be the odd change, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 1 to 2. It's going to be the odd one. The main bulk of it I see in 3 months. Hence why we roll it out. The first 3 1-to-1s with the skills matrix are quite chunky, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. Then after that, I just bring out the 1-to-1s. But if there's some significant changes or some quick wins, or you do some changes, I'll still bring it out and I'll still alter it there and then in front of you. I don't just say, oh no, we're not altering it. I'm not rolling it out. We'll still roll it out as and when necessary.
Yeah, and do you do those, mate?
Me? No, I don't work.
Is it Adele who does those, or?
Yeah, Adele does everything.
Yeah.
Because I can get to do shit like this. That's why. You think if I'd been valuing all day, I'd want to come to speak to you lot. I'd be sick of my life.
So what is your role now, mate? Like, are you kind of like, all of the stuff you're talking about is obviously research you've done and all this learning you've done, and then you go on, is that your role to like make the business keep improving on the larger scale? And then,
so I look at very much a strategic point of view. So I'll look at that, but like my training business, so I've got a training company, teachers, letting agents, estate agents, that's pretty big. So I do one-on-one coaching and membership sites and all that sort of jazz. So I love doing that. I spoke to you before about rent to own, so we're building up for that. So we're trying to raise quite a large sum of money to buy an awful lot of houses next year. So we're backwards and forwards to the various investment houses and stuff like that. So I'm really, really busy, just not running the estate agents.
Yeah, of course. But like you say, you've got that, you put the work in to systemize that, haven't you?
Yeah, and I've been lucky. I've got an amazing MD who very selfishly decided to go on maternity leave. So her contract's getting in.
How dare she?
I know. I didn't have nothing to do with it. She just like went, her and the fella just decided to have a baby. I wasn't even considered or anything. No. She phoned us up. She's lovely, Adele. She's lovely. And she phoned us up, and she must know how, well, she does know how I think. She went, right, it's going to be fine. So I've just thought this, and I've thought, and I've done this, I've done that. I went, you're pregnant, aren't you? She went, yeah, but it's not going to be a problem. I went, not a freaking problem. Oh, we're joking on. So what happened is we had 10 branches. We haven't bought one since then. And all we did is we identified an area manager. So it was a lady who was a current manager, and she was chomping at the bit for progression. So thankfully we had a good 7.5 month really, because she worked really far on to train Holly up during lockdown as well. That was tough. Right. But we trained her up to take over. And the beauty of this is when we take over the one in North Yorkshire, we're going to recruit another area manager. I've actually had a couple of meetings with the lad. So I think he's going to start next March, April. And he'll take the southern area, Holly will take the northern area, and Adele will be MD. So she'll only have 2 people to manage. And then Adele can really get into the strategy. So I'm not naive enough to think that, with my standing in the industry, it doesn't get us through doors with software companies. And, we don't get amazing deals and stuff like that. I'm trying to get it out where I don't get the deals. Adele goes in and gets the deals. So it's all about literally making yourself redundant, like looking at everything in the business. So like she's now a director of the business. I don't even have to sign off the accounts. Brilliant. I don't even have to talk to my accountant if I don't want it.
So you've been left with one job and you're even trying to get out of that one.
You've done that very well. No, what I like doing is the acquisitions. So I love the whole buy and sell buzz. It's a bit like when you guys do a deal, like you're going in, you're negotiating, and you send out, you invest in, you pop it together. I'm doing that with acquisitions as well. And,
in terms of your acquisitions, is it just agents that you're buying, or are you doing any other businesses? Or? No,
just letting agents, estate agents. I think people make a mistake of buying businesses outside of their knowledge sector and outside of what they're good at. About 6-7 years ago, I was thinking about all sorts of stuff like getting into bloody care homes and everything. And it was just like, after about 3 or 4 months of driving myself mental, I went, what are you being a dickhead for? You know nothing other than property. Just get into property. You're half decent at it. Just build up businesses. So we do that. So we've got these 2 coming on board. We're quite excited about this one because it sells about 220 houses a year. Really, really high end stuff.
One in North Yorkshire, mate.
Yeah.
So what's made you go down there? Like, obviously,
it was the connection. It was literally we wouldn't have looked there, but a friend of a friend, like a contact of mine, said, "Look, I've got this guy who wants to sell out his business." I can't go into too much because if you've seen the non-disclosure agreement I've signed, it's frightening. But it's effectively the circumstances are a bit weird. It's like it's got a lot of cash in the bank, and if anybody knows about how you buy a business, if he took that out, he'd pay income tax on it. But if we buy the business for what it's worth, plus pound for pound value of the cash in the bank, he gets what's called entrepreneur's tax relief on. So he only pays 10% tax as opposed to higher rate taxpayer. So effectively, it's more of a tax efficient for him. But no one's got this not many people have got this chunk of change.
Yeah.
In the back pocket.
And like, do you think like you'll kind of venture down that way a bit more, or just? Yeah,
so we're looking at Richmond, Darlington, Beedale. So looking at all sorts. When you look at the map of the northeast, I mean, funny enough, this is actually closer to me where I live, to this new one, than some of the ones where I've got to go to Hexham. So Hexham's about 50 minutes away from me in Prudhoe.
Yeah.
In Alston, we've got one in Alston. That came with the other 2. I mean, bloody hell, I'd have never bought an Alston. Tell you what, how weird is this, right? Alston is effectively a shop front that one of our guys goes once or twice a week, right? There's 2 other agents there. We're a shop front with no staff, and we've got 50% of the market.
What?
How shit are the other 2 agents who've got 10 staff between them? We've got all the market. It's mental. Alston's in the arse of nowhere. That's been unkind to arses in the middle of nowhere. It is.
So, mate, would you mind just spend a few minutes talking about how you structured the house you live in now? How you structured that deal? Because I know that post got mega traction, didn't it? I think you posted back in 2016, and it got mega traction. Like, unbelievable how you did that, and where you're living now as a result.
Yeah, cool. So we do this thing called rent to own. Effectively, I don't know if you guys know, I think most of you do, but rent to own is where you put a tenant in a house, and it's basically on a long-term lease option with the option to purchase. They pay rent as normal, and then they'll pay a little top up and the top up will amount to 10% of the purchase price of the house. So for example, say if it's 120 grand, in 5 years time, they'll have 12 grand saved up, and then that's a 10% deposit. That's it in a very, very brief nutshell. They're contractually responsible for repairs. So again, from an investor's point of view, it's quite profitable because you don't pay for repairs. If they don't pay their rent, or they don't pay the top up, or they're a bit of an arse of a tenant, you can evict and they lose all their top up. Right? So there's a big, big financial incentive for them to be good tenants. So you've got very little arrears, very low voids. They do all the repairs. It's basically perfect, your dream tenant. So we were rolling that out in CastleDene, and I was looking for a house for me. And I think we've been here 6 years ago now. So we'd had the business about 4 or 5 years. And you guys know yourself, you just plunk, every time you get a bit of cash, you whack it back in the business. And I was buying businesses and open branches for fun back then. So it was like, a chunk of cash to open a branch. It ain't cheap if you're going to do it right. Or you're buying a business, you're trying to get low gearing, so you're putting a good chunk of cash in, like 50% or 40%. So I didn't have the money to buy. I had money to buy an okay house, but certainly not a house like this. So I was in a little place called Yarm, if anybody knows where Yarm is. So I was just, out walking and with my wife, and we saw a Yarmouth estate agents. And there was the same house was up for sale and to let. So I said, it's a nice house. It's a decent house. So it's not the sort of house that you'd ever think you could live in, like being, lad from the collieries and, dad was a miner and all that sort of stuff. You just think, I'm not going to live in a freaking grade 2 listed building. It just doesn't happen to me. So I saw it up for rent, and I wouldn't call it a house. yeah, I've not done bad. So we saw it for sale and for let, and I went in and I said to the girl, it was really sweet, just a bit numb. Like, have you heard about rent to own? She was like, no, what's that? I says, all right, well, we rent it and then we want to buy it. So do you want to buy or rent it? I says, oh, well, it's rent to own. We want to rent it first, then we'll buy it. Can you arrange a viewing? Do I tell him you want to rent it or want to buy it? Just tell him I'm going to buy it. Just get us the viewing. And our house is next to, it's got a coach house or a house next to it. And Ken and Jill owned both. And they lived in the big house, like our house, and his mum and dad used to live in the coach house. His kids had up and left. He's in late 50s. His father had passed away, so his mum was rattling around in a little 5-bedroom cottage, coach house. Him and his wife were rattling around in a 7-bedroom, 3-story house. So it was just ridiculous. So they moved into the little house next door. So they had to live next to us. So they wanted to make sure that they liked the people that moved in. So we went out to see them, and we just got on really well. It was very similar backgrounds and upbringings. Like, we deal a lot with housing benefit. He dealt a lot with the care home sector. I was mid-30s then. He was mid-30s when he bought it. We had 2 kids at the time. He had 2 kids. So it was very just sort of similar backgrounds, and we just got on really, really well. And I think his kids went to the same school as my wife. So there was a lot of similarities. And we just structured the deal, and we said, this is rent to own. This is how it works. We'll pay you X amount per month. On top of that, held in your secure client account. So we were taking a risk, because normally you'd put it in the agents. But he was 50 odd, and I think I could have took him if it got to that. I don't know, man, he's a big lad. He'd have probably knocked me on my arse, but never mind. And I said, by the way, if we don't buy this, you keep that. And it was a significant chunk of change. It was going to be about 30 grand at the end of 5 years. And he went, I'll have some of that. He said, so if you don't buy this house, I get to keep your £30,000. I went, it's your £30,000. He was like, yep, great. We like you. We like what you're about and your family and stuff. So let's do it. So we rented it, and the plan was 5 years, and I mapped everything out where I was going to get the money from, because, you need a big chunk of change for the deposit. And then my first one was, we're going to do a lot on the boilers. Can you remember when you could get money off boilers and stuff, like a couple of years ago? So, because I owned an agency with about 1,000 houses, I was thinking, Jesus, I'm going to earn like 60, 70 grand off this. 2 weeks later, after we signed the lease, the Green Deal thing got knocked in the head. I was like, oh, shit, what am I going to do now? So that's my plan. So I was like, right, what am I going to do? But anyway, as luck would have it, the business has started doing well. I'd started off a training company in we managed to pull the deposit together, and I bought about nearly 3 years, 10 months later.
That was, you had like a year and 2 months left on the deal, but you went in.
About a year and 3 months, yeah, something like that, yeah.
You just completed early.
Yeah, because again, it's just dead money, isn't it? If I've got the money there, just get it in, get the mortgage. You don't know what's around the corner. I mean, to be fair, we've owned it for 3 years, coming up in 3 years, the end of this year, January. So COVID wouldn't have affected it. But just imagine if it was a year later and COVID would have affected it, and I couldn't have got a mortgage.
Yeah.
And I'd lost 30 grand and I'd been kicked out of family home. So rather than try and extend it, and plus the money we were paying on a monthly basis was dead money. I wasn't getting it back. But at least now, literally, what I pay in a month, 50% is interest, but 50% comes off the mortgage.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. It's just, every month I just see my mortgage coming down.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I remember last time we spoke, Nate, you were talking about how you're rolling this rent-to-own product out within the agency, aren't you, for your normal tenants?
Yeah, so we've done about 75, 80 of these in the agency, and that's just taken on. That's going really well. But something we're looking to do is we're raising some big money down in London, some wealth funds and stuff, to try and go out and buy a ton of houses. We've had meeting upon meeting with various funds. They absolutely love it. Everybody's interested in it. We've just got to wait till see what COVID happens. That's literally just the crux of it. But we are asking for a lot of noughts, a lot of zeros.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned the number last time, because we were in COVID, the first lockdown, weren't we? Last time, obviously, we were on a Zoom, and it was a fair few houses you were after, wasn't it?
Well, if things go well and we get the initial number we want in about a 24-month to 28-month period, we want 3,500 houses.
So there you go, Jessica, get looking.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So the purchase price, so it's cash, complete in 28 days. Everything will be, it's got to be 85k, ideally, all in. Doesn't have to be, because if you go for 90, we'll get some others at 80. But the average across the portfolio has to be 85k all in as a rent-to-own property. In fact, once we get the dosh, once we've signed the sale of the deal, we'll need tons and tons and tons of sources. So we'll come back and don't worry, I'll give you a shout. And we'll work out how it's going to work. But if we win, you win. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Well, mate, that's been an hour. I'm really conscious of your time.
I'm all right. It's everyone else, as long as I'm not boring everyone. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I was really worried coming on here, because obviously we had no prep, did we, John? We didn't know what we were going to talk about, and you were like, "No, I'll be fine." So I quickly wrote like 3 questions on my phone before we come on.
I said to you, just give me the mic. I'll blag it for an hour and a half.
And honestly, mate, it's been absolutely mint, like unbelievable value. I've made loads of notes on my phone there.
Well, has anyone got any questions? I don't want to go. I'm not particularly keen on my kids, you see. So any excuse to stop. I've got a new puppy that's shitting and crapping everywhere. I'm arguing with her, and I don't like the kids, so I'd rather stop in here all night.
So if I just go through the comments there, Margaret said, "You said your fees are high. How much do you charge for tenant find and full management?"
So it's 400 quid, 10% plus VAT. Everything's VAT. So it's 400 quid to find a tenant. 10% plus VAT. I'm not sure what the other brands are, but that's CastleDene. And then so that's about it, I think.
Perfect. And if anyone's got any questions, just unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Run, Has anyone got any questions there? Sarah Burgess, before everyone goes, I just want to give JP a big shout out for helping us figure out how it.
Well, hang on a minute. There's got questions here. You're cutting off my fans. Pack it in, man.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah.
How do you think the Roper stuff will affect the industry?
Just a comment. Are you from Hexham?
Yeah.
You've got the poshest accent from anyone from Hexham I've ever heard.
Oh, sorry.
So, how do you think it'll affect the industry? I think in a really positive way. Really positive way. I think it's going to get rid of the crap and the cowboys. And if you're serious about the industry, then people will go through the hoops. So it's like years and years and years and years ago, I used to work the doors, and we went through the same sort of thing. Like, we regulated the industry, and it got rid of a lot of the bully boys. It really did, that, because if you had a police record or whatever, you couldn't do it. It's going to be the same with this. It's going to get rid of the people who can't prove they've got a client account. It's going to get rid of people who don't reconcile the client account. So do you know now that there's not a legal requirement for an estate agent to see a letting agent to reconcile his client account, to see what client monies he's got in? That's not a legal requirement. That's bizarre.
Well, why would you not do it? I mean, I do it every month.
Exactly. Why? Yeah. Well, yeah. You do it. I mean, and I do it, and everybody else do it. But it's just the way it is. It's been like the wild, wild west for so long. So what they do is they legislate and they regulate a lot of what I call front end legislation, like what we have to do to comply to keep a property safe. But they don't legislate what you've got to do to keep the business safe. So if I would only use, going back to Sarah's question, like there's something called ALA, Association of Residential Letting Agents. So, I'm on the board of directors there, so I'm a bit biased. But we've got 17,500 members, and every single one of them have to follow a code of practice. And the code of practice is things like reconciled accounts, and you've got to fill in quite a detailed form a certified qualified accountant has to fill it in on your behalf. But they're signing away their livelihood if they just BS it. So like an ALA agent is perfect for that. But the sooner this gets done, Jessica, I can't wait.
No, I wholeheartedly agree, because I am an ALA member, and I've done level 3. I'm on my way to doing level 4 now.
Oh wow!
So I just I don't know why.
You work for the agency?
I used to. I used to work for Finest Properties in Corbridge.
Yes.
And I left 2 years ago, so I now work full time in my own property business.
Wow, great. So you're doing sourcing, or are you doing lettings as well?
Both. So we do the lettings. My husband kind of deals with the sourcing and the refurb side, and then I deal with the lettings and the management side of the business.
Great. So yeah, I think the sooner this gets done, the better. I mean, the sourcing. If anybody knows Tina Walsh, she's absolutely amazing. She's pushing for the sourcing side to become a regulated activity as well, and I think that's brilliant. Sorry, not regulated activity, because that's FCA, but where you need some sort of professional qualification accreditation. I think we are dealing with people's biggest assets here, and we've got to take care. And again, it's not the majority. Don't get me wrong. I think there's probably about 10-15% of agents are good. You've got the middle 85%, 88% who are not very good, but they're honest. And then you've got the 5% who are absolute crooks. And they're the ones that...
I think there's a massive opportunity for... Sorry, I was just going to say, I think there's a massive opportunity with the whole Roper thing for the good, conscientious agents.
Well, if you think about it as well, and again, I think I was talking to James about this today, there's going to be opportunities for acquisitions. So you're going to get Fred, who's been an agent for 30, 40 years. He's 60-odd-year-old. He's coming to retirement. Mm-hmm. He hears the words Roper, and he goes, "Oh, balls! I can't be bothered. I'm like an experienced agent. I'm not a qualified agent, because there's a big difference." So there's an acquisition. You then go to get Fred or Bob, who don't know their arse from their elbow, and they're going to get called out because they're going to fail the exams, and then you're going to have a consolidation effort, I think, by the big boys. So if you guys are interested in agency or something like that, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity Q2 of next year. I did think it was going to be Q1 of next year, and then bloody Rishi said furlough till March. So I think they're going to be hanging on that a little bit longer. So once they've all burnt through the business bounce back loans and the grants and the furlough schemes, letting agents and estate agents are going to be on the knees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
No worries.
Mate, do you know when you said quite a while ago that you were going to get into care, but then you thought, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why did you back out of that?
It was the regulatory thing as well. It was like going into it and not understanding how it worked and stuff. So I had an industry where I was doing all right. I think we were managing about 700-800 houses at the time, a couple of branches. And I know what I'm doing here. I'm not doing bad. I'm not setting the world alight, but I'm doing all right. Why would I want to go into a total, completely new, different industry, diversify? There's nothing wrong with it. There's no environmental issues potentially over the horizon, like there was no regulation at the minute. It would have been just, it was just for that diversity. Do you know what it was like? It was the property investors equivalent of shiny penny syndrome. You know, when you go on all these courses by he who shall not be named, it's like Voldemort, isn't it? You go on all these property courses and you get told how to do rent to own by a little Irish guy who doesn't know his arse from his elbow, and you know, various things like that. You're just going from course to course to course to course, and you chase two rabbits, you won't catch either.
Yeah. So like, how do you like choose the right one? Do you know what I mean?
Really good question. So what your passion is, you've got to balance that with what you're good at as well. So there's no good being passionate about, like I'm passionate about cooking. I burn toast. I'm really crap at it. So I'm not going to be a chef, but I really like cooking. What do I really like? I like business. I like acquisitions. I'm quite good at it. So that's what I find what I like. And then you just do more of it.
And then do you do any training around that, mate? Or did you kind of just like learn on the job? Just
really worked hard on it. Just like, I don't know if you guys can see, but this is my office. So I've got my books on that side and I've got my books on that side. So I'm just constantly just learning and reading. Just all the time, just like, what am I reading now? So I've just bought Daniel Pink. Don't know if anybody's read his books. So he's, you know, like The Surprising Truth About Persuading, Convincing and Influencing Others. So The Surprising Truth About Motivates Us, and The Secret Science of Perfect Timing. So I'll read these by 2 weeks. And
honest, you'd go through that many books a week?
2 weeks. I'm reading about a book a week at the minute. About a book a week.
Yeah.
Let's face it, mate, I do fuck all in the agency. I've got plenty of time.
Yeah. But I love that. Like, I feel like with my stuff at the minute, I'm just getting dragged down in the day-to-day doing. And I think like so many people are guilty of that. They're just into the day-to-day doing, and they haven't got like a lot of time to be there looking at the vision of the business, the company.
So you have got the time. It's I'm calling bullshit on that. There's no such thing as time management. It's choice management. So everybody's got the same amount of time as everybody else on this call. It's just we prioritize things differently. So you will prioritize to go on the sites where I'll prioritize reading. That's not a criticism, mate.
No.
Just an illustrative point.
Listen, you're doing a little bit better than me. You're right.
Yeah, but I'm not doing as good as Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Although I think his airline's pretty screwed. But, you know, it's all about levels and where you are, and it's about being happy with where you are and having your goals and rowing your own boat. Facebook is full of arseholes. It really is. Saying they've retired 3 times by 34, and yet they're posting 20 times on how to come on my course. It's bollocks. Don't listen. Use Facebook for inspiration, but not for a comparison, because it's a load of crap. Row your own boat, get to where you want to be. And the biggest thing I can tell anyone here is have structure in your business no matter what you do. Have a plan and follow it relentlessly. There's a really good phrase, and I can't remember. Oh man, it was an army general. And he says, have a plan and execute it with violent precision. And I love it. I love it. And it's brilliant. Obviously, omit the word violent. But what he meant was, it was Patton, General Patton. So if anybody wants to Google that, it was something like, have a plan and then execute it with violent precision. And that's what you've got to do in business. You've got to understand where you want to get to, how you're going to get there, but have a structure and a plan and let nothing off your course. And this is where your mission statement comes in. So if your mission statement is, I want to be the #1 best source in Cramlington within a certain price bracket or type of house, your mission will allow you to knock away those shiny pennies. So if a house comes on and it's in Bedlington, no, I'm Ashington. Cramlington, no, I'm Ashington. Easington, no, I'm Ashington. So you can that mission statement takes you to where you want to be. You've got a chance of hitting your mission statement if you're focused on it. But what we all do is we either take too much on, we overestimate what we can do in a year, we underestimate where we can be in 5.
Yeah. What's
Gary said? A good plan, violently executed now, is better than the perfect plan next week. Love it. I'll pretty much bastardise that, but you got the gist.
Yeah, I read a book by Felix Dennis, I think, How to Get Rich.
Yeah, he's. Do you want to know my best quote by Felix Dennis?
Yeah.
If it flies, float up, rent it.
Yeah. But he was banging to like don't never ever give away equity. Like he didn't even give his brother equity of the companies and stuff.
Yeah, but then you look at Richard Branson, who never owned more than 50% of any company.
So it's
You
just,
look at Trump, like he just licensed his name out. Not that's worth shit these days, but you know. That aside, the principle works. So you license things out. Who else was another one said? Oh, was it Rockefeller said, don't own anything but control everything. So it's equities. It's honestly, it's a personal thing. I've got a business partner. I've given equity away in my business. My MD has got share options. My area manager's got share options. And as of February next year, we're giving share options to all the managers of the business. Because then if we do well, they do well. Now they're driven, focused on doing even better. I'm fine with that because if they do better, I'll do even better still.
yeah.
So you can share it. I mean, you're taking on quite a chunk of change with that, a big commitment. Equity would be preferred, but I think it's going to be the tougher play.
Right.
Because it's a pandemic. You know, it's like, you know, everyone's got, no one's like oodled with cash.
Yeah.
What and you know, why would I send my child to your nursery than anyone else's? What's the competition like? Is it going to be funded by the government or is it going to be a private nursery? What's your demographic? In the area, is it bang in the middle of somewhere like Wynyard where people have got cash, or is it bang in the middle of somewhere like Easington,
Yeah.
where one of the 5 a days are Greg's pasty? So you've got to be sensible about it and look at it like, even though that's you don't just want to do a brochure, it's a business. You need to do an absolute in-depth business plan for it. Why do you want to get it in nursery anyway?
I loved working at the other one. Like I thought the kids were better crack than my mates. Do you know what I mean? Like I was a hide and seek champion as well. No one could ever find me. I used to hide up the tree, so not all the kids would be running around and like I was up the tree.
Yeah, 4-year-old, like, where's he at?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, it's a good learning point actually, that don't get into something. I'm not saying you, but don't get into something just because you think you like it.
Yeah.
Or because it's got that allure of what you think it's going to be like.
No, I totally agree, mate. With the nursery, it's not like that at all. Like I was offered to go into recruitment a while ago and stuff, a recruiting agency, and I just had no passion for it. You know what I mean? Bye, Debbie. Whereas the kids' nursery, it's unreal. It's a privilege, isn't it? Watching them,
it is.
Have an influence in that first 5 years of their life and stuff. So
yeah, just do a really in-depth business plan and look at everything. And the fact that you're doing a business plan will attract and cash flow projections and profit and loss and effectively a balance sheet will actually look attractive to an investor. Like, oh, he knows his stuff, and know your numbers. I won't watch Dragon's Den. I absolutely refuse, because it annoys the living hell out of us. It absolutely boils my piss when you go on there and nobody knows the numbers. It just annoys us. It angers me. Makes my blood boil. It's like you're in business and you don't know your numbers. Why? It's the most basic thing ever. An investor wants to know the return on investment, the ROCE, return on capital employed. They want to know everything, timeframes, a whole lot. And you can do stuff in like upsells as well. So it could be, you're going to get an equity split, or do you want a partial equity or loan?
Yeah.
Or do you want 20% of this business, but if you reduce it to 10, I'll give you 10% of the next one. The good thing about business is that nothing's off the cards, nothing's off the table. It's literally a blank slate where you can just write on what you want, and then it's just up to you in negotiation. Really good book called by Chris Voss. He was an FBI negotiator. So I think it's Never Negotiate, or How to Negotiate If Your Life Depended on It, or something like that. So that's really good.
I'll have a quick.
Tips. Never split the difference. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
He's very good on. It's a really good book, but he's got some really good YouTube videos out as well. I'm a very visual person, so I like to watch the video. I read, but I'll follow it up with videos.
Yeah. Did I see on your Facebook that you were in France delivering to some high?
Yes, I was in Monaco a couple of years ago delivering it.
Yeah, what was that all about?
Rent to own, didn't get anywhere, but it was a good experience.
Yeah. So what was the crack there, mate? How did you get involved in that?
Well, my business partner used to live in Monaco, so
Right.
so it's not what you know till you know. So there's something called the jumbo lunch, and it's basically the meat. I think it's once every month or once a quarter or something. No, once every month.
Yeah.
And it's just like we were sat next to a guy who just sold his security business for 650 million.
Right.
There was a guy across the table. He'd just done Rihanna's mortgage. It was mental. And then there was me from Trindon Colliery talking about rent to own. It was terrific. All right, mate, you want to buy some houses, like? Yeah. No, it was good. It was a really good experience. So we presented to them, went down really well. Had a bit of kickback off one guy who seemed to think it needed to be regulated, and we've had a top FCA compliance company look at it, and it doesn't. We've had Gough Chambers check them out, barristers in London, from an FCA and a customer fairness point of view, check it out. Absolutely passed with flying colours, and then we've got this numpty saying it needs to be FCA regulated. So we very quietly tried to turn it around and said, right, well, we don't think it does need to be regulated, so give me the reasons why you think it needs to be regulated. And he went, well, it just does. All right, one of those. So there's nothing we could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've still got a couple of contacts down there, and they're still looking to put money in. But it was a taxation thing as well. If they take money out of Monaco, those tax havens, and put it in England, you might as well be in England. The whole reason they're down in Monaco is to hide from the HMRC.
Yeah.
Has anyone been to Monaco, by the way?
Have
you been to Monaco?
No. What's it like?
The front bit, lovely. The back bit, it's a concrete shithole.
Honestly, I've been putting these recordings on YouTube. I don't feel like we can put this one on.
Well, probably not. You did warn them what I was like, though, didn't you, before?
Margaret's sick of our crack now. She's asking, your tenants on benefits, how do you manage them? Do you make sure that the rent is paid direct to you as opposed to them first? Yes,
yeah, absolutely. So there's LHA and then there's LHA tenants. So there's a big difference in the types that you get. So, you know, we try and help it and be all encompassing and try and help people if we can. But yeah, we've got strict processes and protocols in place to try and give as much evidence to the who process the rents at the council that they can't look after their finances. And, you know, we try and do it that way. It's not perfect because it's not a foolproof plan, but universal credit is a lot better than it used to. So in most cases, we get paid direct, like 97, 98% of cases.
It's that easy to set up, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of zero deposits if anybody uses them for the tenants. So in this day and age, it's very difficult to get like a month's rent or 5 weeks rent, which is the maximum we can charge now. So we use something called zero deposit, which is an insurance-backed scheme where the tenant pays like 100 quid or 120 quid, and it's 6 weeks rent.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
Sorry, could I just continue? So where you try to get the rent paid directly to you, can you do that straight away, or do you have to wait 2 months and then get the rent paid to you, or apply to get the rent paid?
I'll be very honest, I don't know what we do now because I don't get involved. I do know that we can get it paid direct from the beginning, but in terms of what the process is, I couldn't tell you.
Fine, brilliant, thank you.
No worries.
And you do, a silly question, I'm sure, well, it is a silly question, but I will ask. You do regular inspections, don't you, on the properties?
Yeah.
Once a year, twice a year?
3 times a year, so every 6 months. So if you look at it like the January, we'll do one the July, then one the end of the year. So we have an app, it's a really good app, which the names escape me, but you can do a compare and contrast. So you can pull up what last month's was. So when you're doing it, you can literally see on the screen, because when you get a lot of houses, I might get Frank doing one on January, I might get Bob doing one in July, and Sarah does one in December, and they've all got their own way of doing their inspection, because we all have. You know,
Yeah.
do you go to the window and go in, or do you go to the door and look to the window? What do you do? What do you go to the left-hand side? And so
Yeah.
you can compare and contrast where the last photographs were taken, and you can took it from here, bang. So it's good, and then it's uploaded to the net, and it goes on that little portal that you saw. So the
Yeah.
landlord always has access to it.
Brilliant.
No worries.
I need to come to the northeast, don't I?
You do.
I
We'll have a cup of
do. I've got to learn the lingo first, but I do.
I think Rosetta Stone does one.
Best I book that then. Why, eh, Fletch? That's all I can do.
Actually pretty good.
Thank you very much.
No worries, Margaret.
Well,
Has anybody else got any questions?
I think,
Hey John, I got a quick one.
Oh, hiya.
How you doing, pal? Thanks for tonight. It's been a great Zoom.
No worries.
Dealing with a landlord at the minute that has a tenant that's had a lot of water damage in the property. They've got to go back to brick in a number of rooms on a number of walls. Does the tenant have any standing about a reduced rent over the period of time the building works are going on while the rooms are out of action?
Technically, yeah. Technically. So the fact is, was it their fault that the water leaked, or was it just bad luck?
No, it was a roof tank that the cistern arm let go on.
Yeah. So if you think about it, it's a bit like if you bought a car and it didn't work, you'd want, for God knows how long, you'd want some sort of compensation or a courtesy car. So yeah, this is about just crisis management in a way. So, you know, offer them something. If it's not fit for purpose, believe it or not, if a boiler busts and they've got to move out, you've got to pay for their hotel costs.
Yeah, and that's claimable against the insurance, isn't it? But the tenant in this instance can't move out due to the logistics of their living arrangements, so they've got to stay. But the rooms, they'll lose access to their main dining room, downstairs basement, and upstairs second bedroom. So it was just a negotiation on where to start on how much rent reduction is fair and reasonable.
So you could be pretty logical about it, and you could say, right, as a portion of the house in either square footage and the number of rooms, we are taking off 20% of what you can use. Therefore, we'll give you back 20% of your rent.
That's the total rent. Yeah. Okay.
That could be a starting point, and bottle of wine and a box of chocolates, and see what happens. And also, it sounds really weird. Just a sorry, really sorry.
Yeah. No, the landlord and landlady have been really good, and the tenant's been good in fairness. And the works are due to start just before Christmas, unfortunately. But you know, there's no kids involved, and that is, you know, so it's not too much of a problem. But the question was asked about rent.
Is the tenant expressed some sort of need for or desire for compensation?
Not yet.
Or get in there first and offer something.
Right. Okay.
Offer before they ask.
Yeah.
It's very how do I say it? If I offer you something and you didn't ask for it, it's very difficult for you then to come back and go, oh, is that it? You know what I mean? It's so if you get in first and you offer it, you find that they might not be happy, but they'll accept it.
Just to answer that question, no, it's actually I'm 6'2" and the ceiling height where I'm stood is 6'2".
I was wondering, you're either incredibly tall or you're really covered. One of the two.
No, I've got a small kitchen. Also, at some point, where's the best place to find out about rent to own? Because as part of the neighbourhood strategy for this area, it's a lot of it's being thrown at first-time homeowners and so on. Is rent to own a future strategy that could be interesting to first-time buyers from that point?
First, second, third-time buyers. It's anybody with low or poor credit. So what we are doing is I've got a board meeting at the end of this month with my guys, and we are looking to roll this out across nationwide. So
I thought I'd pick that up earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll not just that we're going to be acquiring the houses, but also that we can be working with people like you know, landlords, investors, etc. So we're just going to sort of formulate the strategy, have a bit more chat on this side, and then I'll come back and do another Zoom and stuff. But I generally think rent to own is the best win-win strategy for everybody out there at the minute, because it gets a tenant onto the ladder, it gets higher than average returns, on average up to 28%, because you're not doing any repairs. There's virtually no voids, there's no arrears, you're selling the house at a pre-agreed rate, so you can almost lock in your potential future profit. And as I said, the tenant wins. Don't get me wrong, you do a commercial conversion, you make a shitload of money from a development, but the tenant doesn't really win. They just become a tenant. They don't get on in life. You're not really helping them as such.
Yeah.
But rent to own, you're getting people on the housing ladder, on the property market. I think that's a brilliant way.
With mortgage affordability becoming increasingly more difficult and the neighbourhood plans having a number of set homes to fill their neighbourhood area, you know, you could also probably get planning more easily off the back of it if you had a solution like that in place to offer to potential first-time, second-time buyers to move in and satisfy the neighbourhood plan, yeah?
Exactly. So it's a bit like an affordable housing element, like the 106 or whatever it is. So it's effectively, you are saying, yes, you're going to have your big houses, your 3, 4, 5 bedders, but we're going to help people get first-time, second-time, third-time buyers. So you find a lot with these. It is people who have maybe a bit elder in life, you know, 40s or whatever, that they've just had a bit of bad luck. They've got CCJs, they've split up, they need to start again. And it's just all horses for courses.
Hi. Interestingly, my landlord's offered me whether I want to buy this property. They've also offered me whether I want a commercial lease for 5 years off them. But, you know, interesting questions just come up about rent-to-own contracts. I'd be interested to see one to put to my landlord, certainly, at the minute, because they're not local. They're looking to offload and move to France, and this is in my neck of the woods and potentially could become a future investment property to me.
Yeah, yeah. So the contracts you use, what we use are very simple. It's just an option agreement between the landlord and the tenant, and a management agreement between us and us and the landlord.
Okay.
So it's really, don't get us wrong, we've had them professionally drafted to take into account all situations and all that sort of stuff. But it's a very, very simple model. I'll tell you what, Paul, if you want, maybe I'll come back in a couple of weeks and do a full-on presentation just on rent to own.
100%, mate. That'll be killer, yeah, for sure.
Thanks, John.
I'll bring the bad jokes as well.
Definitely, mate. I'll give you a message and we'll get that booked in if that's okay, because tonight's been unreal. And
I told you you'd have to get the shepherd's crook and pull us off.
But mate, I think a few people have got to go and what have you. But
no.
Should we hook that up, the rent to own one?
Yeah, just give us a message and I'll give you a shout. Huh?
Definitely, mate. Well, honestly, thank you so much for that night. It's been unreal. It's mad to think that this is free. Do you know what I mean? People would pay $1,000.
You wait till I invoice you about that childcare question you asked us.
But Jen, people would pay thousands to sit here and talk to you for an hour and a half. Do you know what I mean? So thank you very much for coming on and sharing your time and your knowledge, mate. Really appreciate it.
Guys. Well, great to virtually meet you all, and hopefully I'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%.
Cheers, pal. Keep safe up north.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.